Okay, so now we are going to be talking about American options. The deal with American options is that there's a possibility of early exercise. We had talked about it when we were doing the binomial tree. Okay, because there's a possibility of early exercise, that means you're giving an extra choice to the holder of the option. Anytime you're giving extra choices, right, you're giving extra opportunities towards exercising, or you're giving extra opportunities anyway. Obviously you'll be paying more money, in order to give these extra opportunities. That's why obviously it's going to have a higher value on option. This thing is just coming out from the statement that you're giving some extra opportunities to the holder of the option. So he has to pay extra money just to hold it. Okay. Now the thing is, what other things can we say about these options? Because they can be exercised at any time. Okay, let us say that the value of the option that is there. Okay, when it's exercised, first of all, the amount of money, let us consider put option right now. Anytime it gets exercised, it will basically make a money, the payoff that will be there when it's exercised is obvious given by this. Okay, generally for European options, this payoff that is there is only there at the expiry, but with American options, this is the payoff possible at any possible time. So let us start off with this expression. Okay, that the value of the option that is there is smaller than the payoff. Okay, so I'll show to you guys that in case the payoff is this way, there is a arbitrage possibility. Okay, okay, so I had written borrow before, but let us say that we buy. Okay, it will come to the same thing if you write buy or borrow. But let us say that you have your portfolio is that you have bought a put and an asset. Okay, because you have bought a put and an asset, you have spent money from your pocket. Okay, so the amount of money that you have in your pocket is now basically the value of your portfolio, that is the amount that you have lost this much amount of money, so it is minus P minus S. Okay, and then also now, since this is an American put, you can exercise it at any time, because you can, whenever you exercise it, you basically get the option to basically sell your asset, the asset that you are holding. You have an option to sell the asset at a price E. Okay, so you could make this much amount of a profit E. Okay, so as far as your this goes, right, now when you have like exercised your particular put, okay, the total amount of money that you basically have, okay, in your pocket is E minus P minus S. Okay, just to say that again, I have bought a put and an asset. That means I have lost this much amount of money, minus P minus S. Okay, then in case I exercise that particular put, I have the asset, I sell that particular asset, I get the chance to sell that asset, I make a money equal to E. Okay, so this is the amount of money now that I have added into my account. So now what I have is, I don't have the put or the asset because I've exercised the put as well as I have sold the asset. The amount of money that I have with me right now is E. Okay, minus P minus S, which I had spent on buying the put and the asset. Because E minus P minus S, okay, when you're basically in case I'm having this inequality, okay, then you can basically see that this term that is there is always going to be greater than 0. Okay, so what it basically tells me is that I can create value out of nothing. I can always make money. So this means this thing becomes an arbitrage possibility and you will not be allowed to do it. Okay, so because of that, what we have is, just check this equation, because P is greater than is smaller than max of E minus S. In case we consider E minus S to be greater than 0, okay, then what we have is that this term is always going to be greater than 0. Okay, you're making risk-free profit, so that's why you're making risk-free profit, and that is not allowed because of arbitrage, because of possibilities for making no arbitrage. Okay, hence what we have is, for a put we have this expression that this thing cannot be true. For an American put, this will always be true. You could do the same equation, you could also do the same thing for a call. This is always the either greater to or equal will be always the greater or equal will always be the condition for an American call or a put. Okay, you can just try to do the same thing for how you would like show this thing for a call. You can just do it as an exercise. Okay, Now American options are free boundary values problems, because the boundary that is there is not given to you by hand. You have to choose the boundary appropriately. This thing we will make clear as we go through this particular lecture. The thing is, the option value that is there is greater than the payoff. That thing is an arbitrage statement. Okay, that thing just follows from arbitrage. No possibilities of arbitrage. Okay, the Black-Scholes equation is basically inequality. Okay, you can show that from here you will basically get this particular statement. Okay, we will show that below. Okay, the other thing is that these are going to be continuous. For an American option, these quantities that are there are continuous functions of S. Okay, now in order to elucidate certain things said above, elucidate the points above, okay, with actual practical examples, let us consider an American put. Okay, the thing is, as we are saying that it's a free boundary problem. Free boundary is the actual no, it's not a definition. Actual realization of this free boundary is the following. Assume that there is an optimum value, S is equal to SF. Okay, that is, this optimum value is such that if S is smaller than SF, okay, you will exercise, okay, the option. Okay, that is, S has gone below SF. That means you're at, the thing is, how do you decide? You're having an American put with you, American option with you. Okay, the thing is, how do you decide whether I should exercise this option or I shouldn't exercise this option? Okay, so a condition for that is this free boundary. That is a free boundary condition. It's a free boundary condition that, okay, I will make a decision. I'll make a decision that anytime my asset value has gone below SF, I will exercise this option. You see why that thing is? Because the payoff that is there is anyway going to, below SF is going to be much higher compared to S higher than SF. So the lower that I basically set my exercise possibility, that better it is. That is one possible choice I can make. I'm a person, I can exercise the option, I make my choice. Okay, let me say that I will exercise my option in case my asset value that is there goes below a particular asset value, goes below a particular value SF. Okay, and this is my decision that I make, that I'll make this decision, and otherwise I'll just keep the option, because it is much more worthwhile for me to keep the option. Okay, let us say that these are the decisions that I made. Once I made that decision, then obviously the option has basically, you have put on some kind of boundary condition for a particular option, because you have decided to exercise the option at below a particular price or hold it at a particular price. Okay, for simplicity, let us assume that E is greater than SF. Okay, so that we will basically have that the payoff that is there is always going to be greater than 0. Okay, because you are exercising for S smaller than SF. If E is greater than SF, then the payoff is always going to be greater than 0, and that is why you would anyway exercise the option. I mean, in case you're getting a 0 payoff, why would you exercise that option? Right, so assume that E is greater than SF. Okay, now the slope of the payoff, okay, slope d by ds at the payoff, that is d by ds at S is equal to SF, is just d by ds of max of E minus S. We are saying that this thing is positive, this thing is just E minus S, so this thing is just equal to minus 1. Okay, so the slope of the payoff is basically equal to minus 1. Also, what we see is, once you go below S, below SF, you're basically exercising the option. That means the value of the option that is there should just be the value of the payoff. So for S smaller than SF, we should basically have the value of the option is just the value of the payoff. So for S is equal to SF, also we are having the same thing. The value of the option is equal to the value of the payoff. Okay, so these are conditions that we would have just as far as the payoff goes. The P of SF is this, and the derivative with respect to SF is equal of the payoff is minus 1. Okay, I have this equation, okay, at the free boundary, because there is something happening at S is equal to SF. I know that I'm having this condition at the boundary. Okay, because when S is equal to FF, I can express the option. So P of SF comma T is just max of E minus SF comma 0. Okay, the other thing is I could ask, okay, I have this expression, what about this? The value of the option d by dp of s at s is equal to sf. I have the value of the option itself, what about the derivative of the option? I could ask this question. Okay, let me see how far I can go over here to try to evaluate the value of the derivative. Okay, what I have is, let me consider two possibilities. Let me consider a possibility if dp by ds is smaller than minus 1 at s is equal to sf. Okay, if sf, now if I look at, no, this is not sf minus f, sorry, okay, let me consider the following. Okay, let me consider the case when I'm looking at certain difference, consider the case where I choose a value of s such that sf minus s is small. Okay, then this derivative expression that I have will just be written as this. When it is small, I could just write this as, p of s minus st minus the value of the option evaluated at sf is smaller than sf minus s, right? Because this thing is just going to, the numerator is just the difference between the options values between s and sf, and this thing is just the difference between s and sf. There is a minus sign here that basically makes this as sf minus s, whereas this thing is p of s minus p of sf. Okay, now the thing is, I could write this expression sf minus s, okay, as max of e minus s minus max of e minus sf. What I first of all, let me do the following. Okay, in order to make things much more simpler, okay, let me consider s to be smaller than sf, or even if you don't consider s to be smaller than sf, if in case I consider sf minus s to be very small, okay, such that it is such that both this as well as this are positive, are non-zero. Okay, both this term and this term are non-zero. If I'm considering sf to minus sf to be of such a small value, such that both this and this are basically non-zero. Okay, then I could write sf minus s is just max of e minus s minus max of e minus sf. Why is that? This thing is just going to be e minus s, max of e minus s is just e minus s, this is e minus sf, so it is e minus s minus e minus sf, which is just sf minus s. Okay, so I'm having this expression now. Now I use this condition, and then I just see that this term here is the same as this term here. So I get p of st is smaller than max of e minus s, 0. This is a contradiction because what it implies is that it will imply an arbitrage possibility, as we have seen before. So obviously dp by ds cannot be smaller than minus 1. Okay, now let us consider the other case. If dp by ds is greater than minus 1, now just to see what happens is, I'm having p versus s. This line basically is a line of slope minus 1. Okay, and in case I'm saying dp by ds is greater than minus 1, that will basically correspond, say I'm looking at this point sf. If the slope here is greater than minus 1, it will basically imply that this blue line, at least, okay, forget whatever is happening away completely far here, but at least close to sf, what you will have is that the blue line should lie above this red line. That is the meaning of dp by ds greater than minus 1. The slope is greater than minus 1. Okay, now what we have is that this thing is basically telling you the option value, right? The thing is at sf, okay, what you have is this condition, value of p at sf is basically just this value, max of e minus sf. This line that is there is basically just plotting this line that is there. It has a slope of minus 1, and it is just plotting this particular equation. Let me just write it here. This line that is there is just plotting the expression max of e minus s, 0 is equal to p of s. That is what this line is plotting. Okay, That is what this red line is plotting. Okay, so at S is equal to SF, okay, since we know that S is equal to SF, this is the expression, the point of this blue line that is there, okay, the at S is equal to SF, whatever the value of this particular blue line that is there, which is telling you the actual value by the particular option under consideration, the American option under consideration, American put under consideration, at S is equal to SF, it will basically fall on this line. Okay, so there are two things. One is dp by ds is greater than -1, so the option, whatever the value, whatever the way the option basically how p basically varies by s, close to s is equal to sf, this particular line, this curve that is above this line, and at s is equal to sf, the curve should basically lie on this line. Okay, now let me do another thing. Let me basically decrease the value of sf to a value sf minus e. Okay, so then this curve that is there, now when I decrease the value of sf to sf minus e, I will basically get a new option, because I have when I've changed the value of sf to sf minus e, in case I'm still going to have this expression, the dp by ds, okay, because dp by ds, in case I say that it is still greater than -1, okay, then what all that I have to do is that it is still greater than -1, so this new curve that is there, it will still be still be above this red line. Okay, and then also because this is the new value of sf that you have, which is sf minus epsilon, at sf minus epsilon, this new curve that you have is anyway going to be hitting this red line. Okay, so it will be hitting at the upper point over here. Okay, now it is going to be hitting at an upper point over here. In case I basically evaluate the value of the option, okay, using a new value of sf, which is equal to sf minus epsilon, I will be getting a new curve for the option value. Okay, in case I was having if I had just had the value of sf to be this particular value sf, I was getting one curve. Now I have changed the value of sf, it is sf minus epsilon, I'm getting a new curve. Okay, because this thing has to now hit this particular red curve at a different point, so I'll be getting two different curves in principle. Okay, so what it basically tells me is that if I change the value of sf, assuming dp by ds is greater than -1, okay, my solutions will basically change for my option, the value of the option. Okay, so the curves that I will get for p as the function of s will be different if I'm changing the value of sf. Now this thing is the problem. The thing is, sf, that is, there is something which is set up by me, where I'm going to be deciding how I'm going to be evaluating the option. Okay, that is the holder of the option. But this options are basically priced in the market, right? So the thing is, these options that are there, they should always not depend upon how the holder is basically pricing the option. Nothing related to the choice of the holder. Okay, there should be a uniform price. Okay, this is the price of the option that I have. So it shouldn't be basically depending upon how I choose my value of sf. Right? So because of that, what it basically tells me is that I cannot even have dp by ds greater than -1, because what it does is basically gives me two option values for the same value of the asset price. Okay, if I change the value of sf, I'm basically getting a different value of my option. Okay, and the value of the options that are there are set up in the market. They are not basically just two different people using two different values of sf shouldn't be giving me two different values of the option that the price at which these options are getting sold at. Okay, so dp by ds cannot also be greater than -1. They cannot also be smaller than -1. So the only option is dp by ds is equal to -1. So this is the equation that we have. Okay, dp by ds is equal to -1 and s is equal to sf. Okay, so we have two conditions on p at the free boundary. That is, sf is something that we choose, as I have said. We choose, okay, the holder of the option is going to choose a particular value of sf which he feels is optimum, below which for the put he is going to exercise the option, otherwise exercise the put, or above it he is not going to exercise the put. This particular boundary is free. That thing is the choice, but it should be an optimum choice. Okay, what we see is that we have found two conditions right now. One condition was that dp by ds is equal to -1. Another condition, boundary condition, that we have is P of S comma T is equal to max of S E minus S comma 0. Okay. Now, what about the Black-Scholes? What about the Black-Scholes equation? These are boundary conditions that we have. In the European case also, we basically had finally an equation which is telling you how does the value of the option basically change with time. Okay. The way we had valued an European option was the following. We had said, let us start with the portfolio. This portfolio had a value which was V minus the delta times S, and the delta, when is chosen in such a way, what we found out was that this thing is almost like a cash. There is no risk associated with the change in the portfolio in time dt. Now what we said is, how do we see what is the right value? The thing is, what we said is that in case d pi was greater than r pi dt, we are having two things. In case we are having this kind of a thing, what we could have done is we could have just borrowed money from the bank. Okay, and then what we could have done is we could have just bought the portfolio under consideration. Okay, once we bought that particular portfolio, okay, we see that the portfolio is going to become a value pi plus d pi in time dt. From that amount, what we do is we just return the amount that we initially had, which was pi plus r pi dt, and we will make an immediate profit of d pi minus r pi dt. So this thing was a risk-free profit. Risk-free profits are not allowed, so this expression was not allowed. Similarly, if we had d pi was smaller than r pi dt, what we could have done is we could have short sold the portfolio, okay, at a value pi. We would have put that money that we got into the bank, okay, and then what we do is after a time dt, okay, the money in the bank would have become p plus r pi dt. Okay, we could have taken an amount pi plus d pi and bought back the portfolio and returned the portfolio, and we would still get a profit equal to r pi dt minus d pi. Again, an arbitrage possibility which we cannot allow, so that is why even this thing was not allowed. So for European options, what we said was d pi was equal to r pi dt, and that's why we said that that's how we got a Black-Scholes equation. Okay. However, with American options, there is an extra deal here. We could also exercise that option at any time. Okay, with the European options, we never had that particular possibility of exercising that option at any time. So that's why what we did is, in order to use the arbitrage arguments, we could either just buy or sell this particular portfolio, or just get amount of cash and buy or sell this particular portfolio, and on basis of that we could have got these no arbitrage argument to set this equal to this. But in case there is an extra possibility where you could exercise that option, that is not covered by these two arguments here. Okay, the only thing that we could say is that when we exercise that option, okay, which is a new thing that we have, the amount of return that we have from the portfolio, okay, it cannot be greater than the amount that you could have by a return from a bank, right? Because the amount from return from the bank is a risk-free return, and in case you're basically having a higher, at any point if you were basically having a higher return from the bank, okay, then you will basically have a arbitrage possibility. So all we can say is that there can be no return on the portfolio, okay, which is higher than the amount that you could be getting by putting that portfolio in the bank. So that is why you would get an inequality. Okay, so in principle what we have is that it will be when it is optimal to hold option, okay, then in that particular case we just have the Black-Scholes argument. There is no, what we have is we'll just get the Black-Scholes argument and we'll just get a Black-Scholes equation. But when we can exercise that option, there is an inequality we can get. Okay, to see that, let us see this. When we exercise the put option, we have this particular expression Ps of t is equal to E minus S. This is the right side of the normal Black-Scholes equation. Plug this term inside this. This second derivatives and the time derivatives don't contribute. Only the first derivative is going to contribute. It will contribute an amount minus Rs. There is a minus Rp. So this is S plus P is basically at the exercise at this, looking at this equation, is minus Re. It is smaller than 0. Okay, so If we summarize, what we have is, we basically, with the American put, right, we basically consider a condition, you know, when is it optimal to exercise the put. What we said is like, okay, let us choose a particular value SF. When S is smaller than SF, we will exercise the put. Since we are exercising the put, the value of the put is just E minus S. When we put P is equal to E minus S, this expression is satisfied. When S is in the interval SF to infinity, we don't exercise the put. Since we don't exercise the put, this is just a Black-Scholes, this is just like a European option, we have the Black-Scholes equation. Then we need conditions on how the put behaves at S is equal to SF. One thing we have is that this thing is the value of the put at S is equal to SF, but we also saw that there's an extra condition over here, okay, which was equal to -1. SF was not given to us, right? This is some choice we have made. We can see that when, with this extra condition that we have, we can be using this and this, you can basically evaluate an extra condition for SF. So you can basically evaluate the value of SF.